All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Divine Alignment. I have such a special guest with me today. You can see her. Her name is Rachel. She has become such a friend over the years. We started out, we've actually both worked with each other, which is really cool. So I know the magic that she brings, and I'm so excited to share some of her magic with you all. So, Rach, welcome.
Thank you. I'm so excited for this. I'm excited to have whatever kind of conversation we're meant to have today.
I know. Well, we were just talking about before we recorded that she has been very in the flow. I am thriving in always best when I'm just in the flow. So yeah, I'm excited to see where this leads, but I would just love for you to begin just introducing yourself and telling people a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Cool. Yeah. So thank you for having me, and a little bit about myself. I'm like, oh, like, where do I start? I'm not going to go like way back, but I will, I guess, start with I have always been one to seek freedom. And when I graduated university, I was taking the traditional, conventional route, find a corporate job, working downtown in a big city. It was like all the things I thought I wanted. And very quickly, I realized that, well, at first, I didn't realize that there was something more available to me. I actually thought I was quite flawed because everyone around me was very content in their 9 to 5s and happy with the jobs they had. And I'm like, I don't know, like this isn't it. And so I thought hopping around to a couple different jobs would make me feel way better. And it just never did. And so there was like a turning point for me. It actually was a bit of a rock bottom moment with my health, but that was the catalyst for me starting to pursue this freedom lifestyle that I now have completely embodied and created for myself. But I have always wanted freedom. I've always sought freedom. I've always dreamed of it, wanted it. And for so long, I didn't realize or believe that what I now call my reality was available to me. I thought, if I want to live this kind of life, I've got to marry rich, or I've got to, find this golden ticket somewhere and it's going to happen. Like, I really didn't see how it would unfold for me, and especially not in the way it has. So when my health took a turn, I started really changing my lifestyle. I started actually delving more into like wellness, yes, but also that led me to spirituality. And I've heard this from a lot of people, that there's a correlation between rock bottoms with your health and then almost like a spiritual awakening resulting from that. And that's kind of what I would say. I don't think my spiritual awakening was like all of a sudden, like everything became crystal clear and I was receiving all these messages and downloads and everything. It was like, it was a stepping stone for me to begin my own journey with personal growth and spirituality and navigating what that meant for me and what that looked like. And so there was a couple years where I was doing blogging and influencing and content creation kind of stuff. And then it got to this point where I was still working part-time for a digital marketing agency, but I had finally felt like my wings had been like stretched as far as they could working for other people, and that it was now finally my time to work for myself. And so I took the leap. It was definitely not an easy decision. I'm making it sound very like flowy and all this. Like, there was a lot of chaos, a lot of frantic energy going on behind the scenes, but it allowed me to stand in my power in a bigger way. And at that time, when I left my job, I was assuming that I was going to become this like international food blogger. I have celiac disease, so my blog was all around my gluten-free lifestyle, my wellness, my spirituality, my personal growth. It was like about me. What I didn't realize is that when I left that job, that there would be a series of events that actually led me to the world of coaching, and that I would now be here having built, a business. I call it Freedom School. Having built Freedom School, and my mission, my purpose being to help women create their own version of the freedom life, whether that's in relationships, whether that's in business, whether that's their own personal well-being. It's my mission to help women see their own potential, but also to help them clear the subconscious and energetic blocks that stand in the way of that, and to show them what I can see, because I can see the potential in so many people, especially when they're telling me, I'm like, oh, that's possible, that's available. But fewer people are able to see that for themselves. So I feel like the work I do bridges the gap between what their real potential is and where they're at currently, so that they're creating that magic for themselves the way that I have. Because again, I'm a small town girl. I did not come from much. And so for me to be living, I'm now currently at the moment in Tulum, Mexico, a place that I've called home since last October. It's like, if I can come from this really small town of like 5,000-6,000 people and build an international business that is financially free, that supports me, that allows me to support others, that takes me anywhere in the world, like, guys, anybody, like, honestly, it's cliche to say that, but like, if I can, literally anybody can. And so I think I'm mostly on a mission to just show people what's actually possible for them.
Oh my gosh, that's so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. And it's so beautiful for me to hear, because it's like I knew, I guess, parts of your story, but I haven't heard it all yet. There's definitely such a correlation between, I mean, the exact same thing happened for me, of like, it was a rock bottom with my health that led me to my business and my spiritual awakening and all of this. And we both have like, we started in like the food blogging world and moved into like spirituality, because, something that I have really, it's so interesting, because I thought it was like just about food and health. But then once you begin to understand like energetics, you see that it's all connected. It's all related. It's not just about health. It's about money. It's about relationships. And so I've been just loving watching like your journey and you helping women with all of these aspects, because freedom, I mean, that's like what drew me to you in the first place, is like, I love this chick talking about freedom, like sign me up. And yeah, like freedom is not just with your health, it's with your business, it's with your life, it's with relationships, it's with money. So I love all of this so much. And something that we also have in common is really working with people and their subconscious blocks. So I would love to hear just like some of not only the tools that have been your biggest catalyst of like clearing those subconscious blocks, because truly it is everything. But the tools that you've used over the years and like what you use with clients.
Yeah, I feel like I became NLP certified shortly after I started my coaching business, because my resistance was at the mindset level. I knew how to run things online. I was a digital marketer. I knew how to do like the social stuff. But when it came to having my own business, because I always had something to fall back on before, right? I had the other job. So I didn't have to like, I had money coming in guaranteed every month. And so when I was full-time for myself and that wasn't a guarantee, I realized how much of my own shit I had to heal. I had a lot of resistance, a lot of limitation, specifically around money. And it was not something I was taught growing up. And in fact, a lot of my limiting beliefs stemmed from not only my parents, but their parents and the lineage, and even some like past life, some past life experiences to do around money. So when I realized that I was my own worst enemy, then I began looking into mindset. I did not know about the subconscious mind or the conscious mind, any of that. But again, kind of like what we were talking about before we recorded, like when you're just open to what's meant for you, the path is paved, or the path is presented, if you will. So I was led to, in a series of fateful events, to NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. And so I started like taking some trainings, just like being a little curious about it. And then I pulled the trigger and I became certified as a master NLP practitioner. And so within that certification process, I was learning how to administer or like facilitate different tools and techniques, but also receiving from different, I guess, peers who are also in the certification, like also receiving the magic myself. And I remember after my master training, something I had been striving for was like 10K months, 10K months, 10K months. And I don't know why. It's just like what everyone was talking about. I'm like, this is what I'm striving for. This is what I need to get to. And I couldn't get there. Like there was just something standing in the way. And I remember within like, let's say like 2 months, I was making consistent 10K months and then more than 10K months. And it just like started snowballing from there on and on and on and on. And I'm like, there's really something to this. And so for me with NLP, I take my own spin on it, but the derivative is hypnosis, EFT, or tapping. So emotional freedom technique or tapping. Those are definitely like my top two. There's also I have three. Time techniques, which is timeline regression. I don't know if you've heard of like, or timeline therapy is used. It's called like different things in different depending on where you got certified. But with my certification, it's called time technique. That is probably my favorite. Actually, I use it with all of my clients. I find it's like super impactful. It can happen, like change can happen very quickly. And what it does is it allows you to go back on your timeline, because we all have different timelines for different emotions, for different limiting beliefs at the subconscious level. And it stores all memories of all emotions, all events, all situations that we may not consciously remember, but it's stored in the subconscious mind. So what I love about it is it can take you back to childhood, can take you to events that you may vaguely remember, but it's like not quite consciously aware. But it can also take you back to past lives and past generations where different traumas or wounds were first experienced. And so I've taken clients to like 10 plus time or lifetimes ago, which I think is so cool. And the powerful releases that they get, and this technique literally can work within like 10 minutes. Like that's how fast we can do these releases. And then I supplement it for sure with tapping, hypnosis. And then there's like conversational NLP, and there's, different techniques that can be embedded within like your speech and the way you use language and whatnot. Those are not my preferred ways of using it. I do prefer to go like really deep. I do prefer to like just get right to the root of things. And that's what I love so much about NLP in this work, is that you can get to the root cause. Because I found for years and years and years, I was doing the meditations and the journaling and the this and the that. And don't get me wrong, I still do all of that. I love it. However, it wasn't allowing me to get to the root cause, the deeper shadow works, the deeper inner child work, the deeper mother-father wound, all of that. Like I found that when I coupled what I had been doing with things like hypnosis and then doing tapping sequences to also help the deeper integration, that's when my work became more potent and powerful. And that's when my own personal growth work got deeper. So I do take like my own spin on things now, because I had this confidence in being able to weave it in. Whereas before I was very like scripted by the book, like what I was taught was exactly how I was doing it. But that's like I would say like a strong foundation of the work I do. And I think over the years, it's also allowed me to sharpen my gifts and allow my gifts to awaken in a bigger way, because there's no longer that barrier, that subconscious resistance that's trying to protect me and keep me safe from harm, which I guess my gifts could be seen as harmful, but like it's allowed me to trust my intuition more, and it's allowed me to tap in more, which is what I'm able to support clients with too, which is really cool when you start to see them begin to awaken and like the little light bulbs are going off and they're like, whoa, like, okay, magic is happening. So that that was not a nutshell. I did a very lengthy description of that, but that's like the foundation of a lot of the work I do.
Yeah, no, and I think that it's so beautiful, because we do so many of the same things. And it is so funny to see how we start like doing things by the book, how we're taught them.
It's so scripted. Like
yeah.
I have my book in front of me reading, and I'm like, That's not it. That is not it.
Yeah, I used to do that too. And then, it was actually though the very first session that I ever did, like my very first paid session, like after I came back from training, ended up being like an exorcism. And I was like, they didn't teach me how to do this. And so I was like, that's when I was like, okay, like I have to trust my intuition and myself. And because it's like there's not a script, like I can't flip through and be like, okay, exorcism, this is what you
Yeah, it's like, wait, so
no.
I gotta look in the glossary here or the table of contents here.
Right. Yeah, like hold please. Let me find my where I deal with this.
Oh my
No,
God.
so it's like, but through this, I think, one of the biggest things is like we're able to help people see their true potential, which like I love that. Like you're so good at it. And you're so like when you do see people's gifts open up, like there's like literally, I don't think anything more fulfilling than watching someone like discover their own magic.
Mhm.
So beautiful. And you always inspire me too, because tapping though is the one thing that I don't do a lot of. I definitely do like my own form of timeline therapy within hypnotherapy. And I call it hypnotherapy too, but it's so much more than that. So it's like you call it
I
NLP,
know.
but it's like way more than that. It's like we need to create our own like methodologies, but it's
100%.
it's all like intuitive at this point, because it's like, well, what does like you tap in, it's like, what does the person need? So
Yeah.
I love that. That's like so profound, so beautiful. And another thing that you said that I think a lot of people really, I tell people this all the time because I think it's so important that like the meditations, the visualizations, like all of these things, like the rituals, they're really beautiful practices. And I do them every
Mhm.
day too. But like, if you're not getting to like the deeper stuff, it's like you're sprinkling like glitter on top of your garbage. Like, you got
Mhm.
to take out the trash. You got to take out the trash first. And then you have like this beautiful vessel to create. And like, then your mantras and your yoga and your meditation and your journaling and scripting and all of these things, then they have like room to like flourish and bloom and
Yeah.
grow. So I'm so glad that you brought that up. And I would love to hear some of your rituals and your things. I
Mhm.
see you post about them on Instagram. I think it'd be so helpful for people to hear like what are rituals that I could do that would set me up for success, that would,
Mhm.
after I've done the deeper work, that would
Yeah.
plant those really potent seeds.
Yeah. Yeah, like with what you were saying about like just highlighting the fact that the deeper seated work is where the magic really does happen, and a lot of people want to shy away from that because it is painful to look at and it is just uncomfortable and it can be very triggering and all of these things, but it actually is where like the fun, the playful, the rituals, which I'll touch on in just a moment, like that's like, I'm trying to use another analogy that's not like really coming to me. It's like kind of, but I'm like, I don't think that's like powerful enough. But basically it's like, yeah, if you want it's like, I think that people who bypass a deeper work are looking for that quick fix. They're looking for, and if that's you listening, I'm not trying to shame you. I just want to highlight that there's so much more available on the other side of doing that deeper work, and that it does actually get easier, even though like it can still be painful and triggering. Like it's like doing workouts. Like if you work out and then you just plateau and it's never like, you're never like breaking a sweat or your muscles are never hurting. It's like, well, you've just like kind of plateaued and your body is going to stop seeing changes. But like when you're going to the gym and you're like going up a bracket in weights that you're lifting and you're all of a sudden like you're feeling the pain again, it's like the good kind of pain. It's like that there's growth that's happening, that there's like, as much as you may not be able to walk for a few days and it's going to like suck, it's like that change is happening. And so if you're like, I'm doing the meditations and I'm doing the this and I'm doing the that, but like nothing seems to be working, it's likely because, and this is what I was doing for a really long time, and I'll touch on like my evolution of the ritual work, is like I would manifest, I'm saying this in quotations, manifest, writing down my manifestations month after month after month, but like nothing was ever manifesting. And I'm like, I don't get it. Like, what is wrong? And now that I know what I know, I realize that because I was consciously manifesting, and we don't manifest from our conscious mind, we manifest from our subconscious mind. And when we do the deeper healing work at the subconscious level, where we're, you know, letting go of limiting beliefs, negative emotions, internal conflicts, etc., we are freeing up space, like you mentioned, and we're actually able to, like, think about like lower, like think about negative emotions as having like a heavier frequency. Like they're heavier, they're weighing you down, you're like, you know, not able to like sit up straight, like your demeanor is just like kind of slouched forward and you're just like kind of contracted. Whereas when you start to liberate yourself from that, you start lifting them. And then naturally, when you start to liberate yourself from these like heavier emotions, you're going to start feeling lighter. And what happens is energetically, your disposition changes. So you're having, you know, this brighter aura, this brighter essence. You find you're walking a little taller, you're, you know, smiling a little bigger. And like, there's a correlation between the subconscious and the subconscious program and your energetic frequency. Like that's what I've come to understand and experience for myself. And so if you're not doing that work, then like a big part of manifestation is the feeling. And I was not ever tapping into the feeling because I didn't know how to get into that feeling, because I was weighed down with all these like limiting beliefs and negative emotions. So not to say that your efforts currently are bad or wrong, it's just to have more potent ritual experiences and to have a more elevated experience with your rituals. Like the deeper work allows you to sink in deeper. Like my rituals now are, I would say, a little more advanced in the sense that they're all to do with embodiment and really tapping into frequencies. But when I first started out, I did a 21-day guided meditation challenge with Oprah Winfrey and Deepak Chopra. It was like this online thing. And it was like my introduction to what did you say?
I love it. That's awesome.
Yeah. And someone had like recommended I do that. And I needed to use a guided meditation. Like I couldn't sit on my own for 15 minutes. Like I needed the guidance. So I did this 21-day challenge and I was like, oh, like I really liked that. Like that was actually a lot easier than I thought. And I remember I then kind of continued on my own meditation practice. And then I think every like few months they did this conjoined challenge. And so I kept doing that. So that's how my practice started, with like rituals. And I would journal, and I'd been journaling for years, but I noticed that once I started to meditate, my journaling took on like a bit of a lighter tone as well. And then I started just experimenting with different, I don't know, like I started going to Kundalini yoga, I'm pretty sure. So that started becoming a part of my daily practice. At one point, I started doing goddess work, goddess devotions, Kundalini, Kriyas. Like I mix it up quite often based on like what's feeling right for me. So that's like how I started, very simply, very like, 15 minutes a day was all I was allotting for myself. And I was still working full time. So I wasn't really able to carve out the amount of time I'm able to now. Now my rituals are very different. I can spend hours a day doing ritual. In fact, sometimes I'm spending like half of my day doing ritual. And ritual is really anything that you are choosing to do to kickstart your day or to end your day or to break up your day. It doesn't matter what time you're doing it. I prefer mornings and sometimes evenings, but make it work for you. Like that is my biggest piece of advice, is like what I do now and the amount of time I spend now is what works for me. It's actually what allows me to feel my best and to thrive. But I'm also like, make it work for you, because those who lack consistency in their rituals, it's likely because you're trying to do something that someone told you to do that isn't really in alignment with what you want to do, or it's not in flow with you. And so you're doing it because you think you should. And I did that for a long time. And that's when like I found my rituals were less consistent. But when I started just making the rules for myself, like making it work for me, I found myself being able to spend hours in ritual and like not even realize it's 11 o'clock, be like, oh, actually, maybe I should start my workday now. So I do breath work almost every morning. Breath work has been really, really powerful for me over the past year. I had done it sporadically over the past couple of years, but now it's something I really love to do. 10-15 minutes to kickstart my day. And it actually helps me to then go into my meditation, which I'm doing a variation of a Joe Dispenza meditation right now. That is just, once I do the breath work and I feel like my channels are open and I'm already kind of in that floating state on another dimension, I'm then able to go into my meditation a little bit deeper. And I find like it just like opens the gateways for me to do that. And then I do 15-minute meditation. Maybe on occasion I'm doing some tapping in between, not always, only if I really feel like I need to like work through something. And that's like the basis of it. Maybe I'll do some journaling, do some like light movement or whatnot. But I've like found this right now works for me. I've also gone through periods where I'm doing like 10-minute Kundalini or 15-minute Kundalini, followed by goddess devotions for like 20 minutes, followed by this, followed by that. And I have liked that at different seasons of my life, but I'm all about like what feels best for me at any given time. So make it work for you. Don't think that you need to be doing 100 things or even 5 things. Like you can do one thing and get consistent with that. And then if you want to add more, or if you want to switch it up, do that. A ritual to me isn't like always forever the same. It's really like what you are vibing with on the moment, at the moment. And for me, that ritual, it's like, I feel like it's such an embodied practice because it really does allow me to get into the feeling state of the elevated emotions of like love, abundance, joy, gratitude. And that is the tone that I set for my day. And that feels good. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you shared all of those because there's a few things I want to point out too, because I think that a lot of people have like resistance towards doing this. And I always say like, give it a few days. And if you don't love it after like a few days, like changes, it's always like uncomfortable when we first start. So like, if you're not jazzed, like when you first started, like it's okay,
Yeah.
but give it a few days. And then if you don't love it, like then like maybe try something else or something else or something else. But I had a similar, something very similar for me. It's kind of like, I have like my like structure of like, I always do these things. Like for me, I'm same with you. Like my rituals, like my morning routine is sacred. It's sacred. Like I can't imagine starting my day like just hopping into work or
Yeah.
doing things. I mean, I'm also a projector, so like I need that time.
Calibrate your own energy. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so I think that those are so beautiful. I think also like giving people that permission that like what you are feeling like I always like want to remind people like you can't really give to people if you're not filling yourself up.
Yeah.
You really can't. Like you are not a powerful leader, you're not a powerful healer, you're not being your most powerful, truest, authentic, most aligned self if you are not taking that time, whatever, like it can be 5 minutes, but like you need to take that time to like tune in with yourself. Like what does your soul want for you and is guiding you to do, and like setting that time. And I know that it's, people have busy lives, but it's like
It's important. I mean, I feel like the way I see it now, and like there are days when I'm like waking up and I can feel like there's some sort of emotions that are like trapped in my body, and I'm like, oof, like I got to move through some stuff. And so I'll go deeper, I'll go longer, I'll do more rituals, I'll do some embodied dancing and like moving my body and, doing some cleansing and, more ceremonial stuff. Like it is day to day that I tune into what feels best. But wait, that I just lost my train of thought with what else I wanted to add to that. Something that, what did you just say? That
not taking the time, tuning into yourself.
Not taking the time. I think I was going to make an analogy around, yes. So how I see it now, it's like I go to the gym on a pretty regular basis because I'm not like trying to hit some sort of fitness goal. I just my body feels good when I'm moving it regularly. Even if I'm walking on the treadmill with an incline for 20 minutes, like my body just feels good. Or if I'm going outside and doing like a 45-minute to an hour-long walk, like movement on a regular basis feels really good for me. That's you working on your physical, physical hygiene, and then there's the spiritual hygiene, which is the energetic body, the spiritual body, and even the emotional body. And I see it in the sense of like, it's good hygiene to take care of your spiritual body as well. You're taking care of your physical body by moving your body and hopefully you're eating clean and taking good care of yourself. I imagine most people are who are listening, but it's also, there's like the spiritual hygiene and taking care of like the spiritual body, the mind, body, spirit. It's like this whole, ecosystem that we live in. It's not like one or the other. And I think in our society, we put so much emphasis on like the physical body, but you can be like super fit and toned and all of that, but not have your shit sorted on a spiritual, energetic, emotional level. And I feel like that to me is such a priority, just as much as it is eating right, moving my body, all those things. Like they go hand in hand. What's the point of having a beautiful body if you're a shitty person who doesn't know how to manage their emotions, or is like a hot mess basket case because like you haven't grounded yourself in before your days. Like it's like, think of it in terms of that. Like 5 minutes is all you need, but like make that 5 minutes count. Just like you don't need to spend hours at the gym. I don't spend hours at the gym. I spend maybe up to 45 minutes, but like that's good for me. And just like you don't need to spend hours doing rituals, you can spend 5 minutes and that could be perfect for you.
Oh my gosh, I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more because, and just like with the gym too, what they say is like, if you're not like feeling, just go for 5 minutes, like just start. And then what happens is then it's like, then you get into it, then you want to keep going. And then it's like, okay. And then you like come back, you're like, oh my gosh, I feel so much better. Right.
Yes.
It's the same thing with a morning routine or an evening routine or like these rituals is it's like no one feels, I mean, maybe some people do like first thing when you wake up, like diving it, like doing these things, but it's like you do it and like be like, I'm just going to do it for 5 minutes. Then what happens is it's like, oh my gosh, I feel 10 times better afterwards. Like 10 times better. So you see that it's like, and then it becomes this like muscle of devotion to yourself because we are a mind, body, soul. Like we have to take care of our physical and energetic body. We have to. Otherwise, like what people don't see and often realize is it's like, if you're neglecting one, you're actually neglecting the other. So it's like, even if you are taking care of your physical body and you're not working on your mindset and your subconscious, like your physical body is actually going to suffer because it can't hold the physicality. Like it's going to deteriorate in some way because you can't like not pay attention to your soul for so long. Like it's going to keep, like eventually you're going to get a health issue or you're going to get money issues or relationship issues, right? Like like you have to, because the universe is going to be like, hey, like you're not paying attention to your soul. Like that's how it works. But taking like another turn, because something else that I think that you are so good about talking about, and I really want you to share with people, is about money, because money has been, it's like one of those things that some people don't like to talk about it, but like we need to be talking about it more. Because, and especially right now, I'm loving like this more, there's a lot of like resurgence of like feminine and power and money and worth. And it's like, not that it even has anything to do with worth, because it's like, you're a human being, you deserve to be wealthy just for being a human being. Like none of that really matters. But I would love to hear just like some of your journey, because I mean, I know that we touched upon this at the beginning, but it's like, it's not just about food and health and whatever. It's like, oh, they're all related. They're all related. And I've seen so many people that it's like, when we work on the money stuff, their health will improve, or we work on the health stuff and their money will improve, or the relationship stuff and their money will improve. Like it's all connected. And so, but for the purpose of, because like you've talked about it so much, and I think you have such just beautiful wisdom to add, I would love to hear just like about a little bit about like your money journey and like how you help people expand their wealth.
Yeah. Oh, I love this question. Yeah, I think it does all like all interconnect and all like it kind of ties into something I was going to mention with the last question that we were talking on, but like when you start to do this deeper work, and so with, say, the rituals, for example, you start working out, you start doing some rituals, like there's this compounding energy where things just start to feel better and better and better. And then you're addicted to feeling better and better and better. And so then the things that you once maybe would have defaulted or fallen back to are feeling less aligned. And so you find yourself not wanting to consume, the same foods, or watch certain TV shows, or follow certain social media accounts, or spend time with as many people, or like it does create this compounding, and it can feel uncomfortable at times because you're moving away from certain people maybe, or, breaking old habits. And it's like, wait, what's happening? I don't know if I feel good about this. But it all kind of comes back to this deeper inner work, which money is a journey that I've been on, and that I help a lot of women on, and I have a lot of conversations on. And I did not come from money necessarily. I had like a normal life, I would say, but it wasn't by any means like there's definitely a lot of narratives within the household that were lack and scarce in nature. And so I picked up on a lot of that. And so when I started doing my journey with healing my subconscious program, my primary focus was on money, because I had all sorts of narratives. My blueprint was conditioned to believe that I had to work really hard to make money, that I, had to work in a traditional setting, that I had to work specific hours in a day, that I don't even know. I'm just like, now, like I'm so far away from them that I'm like, I can't remember all of them, but these are some that I've heard from clients as well, where it's like this, money is bad, money is evil. You've heard those ones before, or, rich people are greedy, I don't know, just like all sorts of different narratives. And maybe there was, some traumatic experiences in the household around money. Maybe money was a source of conflict. Maybe you had money, your parents had money and then they lost it. Like there's all sorts of things that can happen. But at the root of it, it's doing that deeper healing work, is looking, because the narrative that I reference, the blueprint that I reference, it's the program. But just like a TV program, you can change that. You can, you'll have a little remote and you can change it. So for your money blueprint, for example, your wealth blueprint, you can change it. You can look at the beliefs that you are holding and carrying, and the dominant energies and the dominant feelings, the dominant beliefs you have around money, and you can change those. And I use some examples of tools and techniques that I use, but there's a number of different ways that you can begin dismantling these beliefs and unraveling the narrative. You can rewrite a new narrative. Like I'm always rewriting new narratives. Like I'm currently in the process of writing new narratives around money. And, I've healed a lot. I've done a lot of work around money, but it's interesting because sometimes you have to go back to basics every once in a while and be like, oh, wait a minute. Like I didn't realize that this had come in again. And so what I love is once you have a toolkit, you can always come back and do this work, because it's not like you do it once and then you never look at it again. It is ongoing work, especially money work. I feel like it is work because we use money as a tool and as a resource. And remember, it's energetic. Sometimes I'll get into this in a second, but it's a tool and a resource. So because we're always using it and we're always thinking about it in terms of like the things we want to do or what we want to invest in, or like money is the currency that we're using to live our lives. So it comes up a lot for people. So that's why I think it is a challenge for a lot of people, or it's like the primary focus when it comes to mindset work, is because they're like, how do I make more of it? And it's riddled often with like a lack or scarce mentality. So what I found for myself and what I've seen within others is that we often put money on this pedestal. Like we put it way up here. And so then we look up to it as if it's like higher than us and it's got more power than us and that it's better than us. And what we need to do is take money off the pedestal and neutralize it. And this is made possible when we do the subconscious and energetic healing, when we heal the limiting beliefs and the negative emotions and the stories and the narratives that we picked up about money. And we begin to realize that none of that's truth, because the truth is we have all the wealth we need within. And in the work I've been doing more recently is like really tapping into the innate sense of wealth, the innate source of wealth, which is the feeling of abundance, the feeling of joy and gratitude and happiness that comes with stepping into a bunch of money. It's like, how do I feel if I get a big paycheck or a big bonus from an employer or a new pay in full client? You know, think about those emotions. And then you tap into that every single day, because the difference between where you're at now and what you desire is you feeling your way into that. And I found that I'm able to tap into that embodiment, if you will, that feeling your way into it with doing the deeper work. Without doing that deeper work, it becomes really hard because you're going to be battling the limiting beliefs and the negative emotions a lot more. But once you've started to clear that out of the way, you're able to sustain and maintain those elevated states. I mean, we're human. I have days, I have moments day to day where like the old program wants to creep in, but again, just like a muscle that gets trained over time, you're able to bounce back from that limitation or that almost spiral. Like, I don't want to say you actually spiral, because you don't need to do, you know, it doesn't need to go that far. And in fact, it doesn't typically lead to a full spiral once you start doing this work more regularly. But once you realize that money is not better than or higher than or greater than you, money is just a thing. It's a tool, it's an energy, it's a resource, whatever you want to call it. And taking it off the pedestal and dismantling this power, because like you said before, like, you are worthy as you are. Money doesn't make you worthy. Money doesn't give you power. Money doesn't like in a way, I guess you could argue, but it's like all of that comes from within. Money just gets to money comes through you as the vessel when you're in alignment with the vibration of more wealth and abundance and money. So it's kind of complex in a way, but at the same time, it's quite simple. Like, there's layers to it, I guess, is where the complexity comes in. But it is quite simple. It is in looking at your current paradigm, doing that work and staying consistent to that work, like really like going back. Shit comes up again. Okay, go back and heal the new layer of it, or the new version of it, the way it's showing up. Like, keep doing that work over and over and over and over and over again. And you'll find that you're attuning yourself to the frequency of abundance, to the frequency of wealth. And it's about a feeling. And that, I think, was one of the more challenging lessons for me to really like integrate for a while, because I had never been taught that. It's like, imagine if we were taught these things in school, like,
Right?
what are we taught? Like, we're not taught anything about this. We're not taught anything. Like, everything would be so different, and we would be so much more healed and so much more abundant, and we'd be so much nicer. We'd be so much like all of these things. But yeah, I think the biggest thing is like understanding what money really is, because I don't think people really understand that it's simply energetic. And then once you understand that, and then you do the healing work and release and continue to release what needs to go, is then attuning to the frequency of it, taking it off that damn pedestal. Because that, I think, is what creates so much unrest when it comes to money. Is like, it's up here and we're like, oh, we're down here and money's all the way up here. But as soon as it's like when you're dating, you know, if you are looking to every person that you are interested in dating as like above you or better than you, like, you're going to be awkward around them. You're going to feel like you're not good enough around them. You're going to probably, you know, stutter and mumble and like be just like not you. Whereas when you're on a level playing field and it's just like neutral and you're like going in, you're cool, calm, collected, and you're detached, you're this, like, you're going to be so much more magnetic. You're going to be so much more alluring. People are going to want to spend more time with you. And same with money. If you're like awkward around it, or you're like obsessing over it, and it's like, oh, like clingy vibes, like, don't want that energy around me, it's not going to want to be around that. Whereas if you're just like, yeah, like, I'm good either way, like, that's when you magnetize, like, that anything, that's when you actually attract things. So I like to think of the relationship that we have with anything. And if you're obsessed or clingy or too attached, it's like there's going to be some toxic dynamic, you know?
Totally. And I'm so glad that you brought up the fact that, well, there's a few things. Because first of all, like once you clear your vessel and you have done this like deeper work, like it's not as hard to get into the feeling. Like so many people
Yes,
feel like
I agree.
they're fighting their mind, and like we've all been there. And when you're first starting, it literally does feel like a battlefield in your mind. And I see this, and I experienced it myself. But like as you do the work and release those like the weights that are holding you down, now it's like it's easier to get there. And also I think it's so helpful for you to talk about and for people to hear is that it's like it really is like with money, it I think when we heal our relationship with food, with relationships with men or women or whatever, it's this weird thing where it like it does stick. It sticks for whatever reason, or with alcohol or drugs. But with money, because it is such a program in society, I do find that it is something that we have to continue to tune ourselves to the frequency we want, because it's literally like it's so pervasive, like
Mhm.
this lack culture and like the hustle and the like we just had Black Friday, it's like you got to get it on sale, you know, all of these like different
Mhm.
programs like just being shot out, whereas like when you heal like your relationship with food or your health or something, it's like it's just a lot, it's a lot easier. So I
Mhm.
think it's really helpful for someone like you to say like, yeah, like I still work on this because
I don't stop it.
right, it's important. And I mean like I think that that's like of course we both do, because it's like we can't help others with like things that we're not embodying and working on ourselves. So
Totally.
I'm so glad. This has just been so, I feel like we could talk forever,
I know
and
we could go on and on. I know that.
there's so many things that we might have to do. We might have to do a part two. There's
Yeah.
like, I want to ask you so many more questions, but I also want to be respectful of time. So Rach, where can people connect with you, learn more about you, give us all of that info?
Yeah, mostly hanging out on Instagram at Freedom Rach with two H's. I'm also on TikTok with the same handle. I'm trying to be more active on there. I'm like inconsistent, but you know what? I'm still making the effort, so I'm not like taking it off the plate fully. And then I also have a podcast. It is That Freedom Life podcast. Um, and I have weekly episodes, and you're going to be on an episode shortly. So we'll be sure to link the episode so people can listen to that as well. But that's where I'm mostly hanging out on online. But I really like appreciate this conversation. I like the questions you asked, because I feel like I haven't been asked some of those questions in a while. So it's like, oh yeah, okay, like I like this. This is like my sweet spot. So thank you.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. It was so fun having you on, and I love sharing. Thank you for just sharing all of your energy, your wisdom, and yeah, definitely go and connect with Rachel. And until next time, I'm sending you all infinite love.